Right for that position. No, we're gonna do what he can of his report, and then we'll stop for a few minutes to do that. Get as far as we
Leave me
can.
one.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bill needs one.
There you go.
Oh, here, you got it.
I got one. That one I'm on here,
So-
10 or 15.
So you got some complaints about you patrolling and on the Route 7 and apparently,
I never saw anything.
There was some on Facebook. I didn't respond because I knew they were doing the statewide code ticket.
And that somebody, a couple people responded that, so, and that they're all trained the same, they're all licensed, like, I felt like it,
Yes.
that person
Got a response?
got an appropriate response.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna respond to forum posts, but if somebody has a question, they can certainly reach out, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you guys understand what
no,
we're doing. Yeah.
it's part of, I mean, you,
It's the
in order,
Buckle Up campaign. Bennington County gets together, law enforcement in Bennington County, they choose different areas during the 2-week campaign. Sometimes we're up in this area, sometimes we're a little further south. Anybody that's outside of our town in that Buckle Up campaign is on the state highway safety grant money. It's not being paid for by the town, so it's all reimbursed. We also had guys on duty, but they were doing it in the town of Winhall. So any funds that are being spent from
no, I mean, it was all legitimate, it's just,
Yeah.
there were some people that, oh, why are they, but that was the problem we had when we had a March Cruiser going back
Yeah,
to
sure.
two. Yeah, so,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and while we're on it, it's called the Buckle Up campaign, but it's the curb aggressive driving, impaired driving. We had 106 hours during that 2-week period that we contributed both on duty and on the highway safety grant. We had 186 car stops.
How many hours?
106. Yeah, 186 car stops, 46 speeding tickets, 28 other tickets, and 6 arrests.
Wow.
And they were,
So,
yeah,
our people
yeah.
had 6 arrests.
This is
out
just
there.
us.
That's just, that's not the whole.
That's not the
wow.
whole team, yeah.
So you guys are pretty busy then?
Yeah, it was a good effort.
Whatever.
Yep.
Were you guys the one that caught the guy at 142 miles an hour?
No, I think that was a Bennington officer. Yeah.
that just
But it was on this campaign.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
moving.
my car won't go that fast, even though it goes pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's up there pretty good.
Yeah. Huh.
Then,
Yeah,
1, 2, 3,
2.5
4,
times the speed limit.
6 total arrests. Some of those were on the campaign. And then you can see the in-state arrest as well.
Go on the other.
I noticed the in-town pullovers is picking up a little bit, which, I actually appreciate that, because people are
You
cruising.
get better weather.
People are cruising.
They're moving a little quicker and
Yeah.
receptive behind them. Yeah.
There is still, I mean, I can't read the speed sign down below my house. I have to have my binoculars out, but I can see vehicles going down through and they're definitely doing more than 50.
Yeah.
And they come to that sign and they don't touch their brakes. They're not
Really?
they're not even letting off.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
the problem is I can't see for sure what their speed is, but I know they're going faster than they should.
Yeah, well, there's usually an officer just a few blocks up from there.
Double check.
Lately, there's an officer a few blocks up.
Should be.
Well, I mean, people should at least let off and back it down a little bit, but some of them just aren't even touching the brakes. And big trucks too.
Today, I
Not
saw
even-
2 people pulled over today, and I wasn't watching, I was driving back and forth, and twice I went through town, and there were people pulled over.
We had the exact opposite when I did my ride along. It was raining and no one was speeding.
Oh, it's Saturday?
It must have been on a
Saturday.
Saturday, like every
Yeah.
Saturday
Saturday weekend, yeah.
I mean, it is, so the way technically, you're not speeding until you're actually at that sign, because
Right,
there's a
30.
warning for 30, and then that's where the 30 starts, but I go to 30 at the warning sign. It makes people crazy behind me, and then they see the officer in town, and I think they probably are very thankful.
There's 3 of us that participated in the Special Olympics torch run yesterday.
Oh, cool.
From Orvis down to the PD, Manchester PD. Myself, Jeremiah, and Haven. Hayden to argue off.
Say that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hayden starts Monday at the level 2 academy, 2-week academy, and then he'll be in uniform on the road starting to train. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, he's had some training already.
He has a criminal justice degree, but no field training.
No, this is it.
All right. All right. So is there anything else before we go into executive session?
I don't think so.
It shouldn't take too long?
No.
Okay. So we're going to break for a quick executive session at 5:36. Before we're back in session, we're out of executive session with the police department on personnel. No decisions were made. So you're all set? You're
Yes.
done with your
Yes.
report? Okay. I guess we might so talk about contracts. I guess Trevor might so come on up here since that's mostly your division there.
Hi.
Right.
So which one do you want to do first?
Well, it looks like South Road retaining wall.
Is that first?
There was only one bid.
Yeah. There's only one bid on that, and this is a section of road.
That was A.S. Clark.
Correct.
A.S.
Yeah.
Clark, yeah.
This is a section of road that we did like 4 years ago, I believe it was. The road was eroding away. This is the
This is on,
continue that.
this is on
That's okay.
South
Do you have any
Road.
problem with A.S. Clark, dude? Then I move that we
So
award A.S. Clark.
what was the figure, just so we,
22-4.
22.4?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a proposal of a bid to repair the retaining wall on South Road by A.S. Clark and Sons for 22.4. It was the only bid received. That
Yeah.
seems to be well within the reasoning of what we did before.
Yes.
So,
The only other option would be to rebid it.
well, I don't see any point in
Neither
it.
do I.
No,
The
Clark
bill-
does good work.
Clark does good work, Bill.
That's what I asked,
My rough estimate is 20 to 25.
Yeah. Did you second that motion?
Motion was made and
Second.
seconded.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Usually they're here when there's a bid award.
There's no war.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Or bid awarded. Awarded.
Awarded.
Awarded, yeah, bid awarded.
the sand is next, I believe.
Okay.
It's okay, keep going.
Line
Yep.
striping.
Fine,
striping.
go
What
to
do you
Sam.
want, which one do you want to do?
Well, we can do line striping.
Okay.
I don't have the
So
figures.
say which one you want to do.
Which lines are we doing?
It'll be the center line on Upper Taylor Hill Road and fog lines, then fog lines on the access road, Upper Taylor, Winhall Hollow, and Old Town.
Is it the same outfit who lined the access road?
No.
Okay, that's good then.
No, and,
Actually, that was state.
I've been driving, I said it earlier before the meeting,
It's
I've been
almost gone.
driving around to a lot of places and unbelievable, what are they using, watercolors now?
It's just, it's
I mean, it's not just us.
not just us,
It's
it's,
everywhere. It's like the
Yeah,
lines
a lot of-
don't even last a winter.
a lot of it depends on the plowing. I mean, there's a lot of scrubbing.
But
There's-
that was paid for by the state. We did
Yeah, I
not pay
understand
for
that.
Well, like he's saying, it's just, and
Oh, I
it
know,
could be.
I was on it yesterday and
Yeah.
noted it, so
So-
I knew we had line striping.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we
it's
have-
not just here, like he's saying, I agree with Bill, I mean, it's
It's all over the place, it's unbelievable, I don't remember, maybe
Probably
just,
using biodegradable.
It could be. I mean, we could, it goes back to the age-old thing where we could request 4mm thickness paint, and you gotta have somebody out there measuring it, and the state does that, and that doesn't work for them.
so we have two bids, K5 Corp at 18.5 and L&D at 20,550.
Can you slow down?
K5 Corp,
Have we ever done
Oh,
K5?
we
See,
would,
yes,
Oh, I
What did they do?
New one.
they've done the same line striping.
we wouldn't have to slow down.
They're 18.5.
They've done it before. It's a revolving door. There's typically only two companies that usually do it, and they just flip-flop back and forth. And a lot of it usually depends on which one of the two gets the state bid.
So it was 18.5 at K5.
18.5 for K5 Corp and 20,550 for L&D, and I would motion that we approve K5 Corp if you have no issue with them, Trevor.
Okay.
Is there a second?
A second.
Motion made and seconded to have K5 at 18,500. And that's all spec'd out, you've got the right footage and everything?
Yep.
Okay, because that can get sticky. All in favor for K5 at 18.5? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Now we'll move on to winter sand.
Winter sand.
Can I ask one question about the striping?
That was
Do they
one.
give, do they give any kind kind of guarantee?
No.
No, okay.
We
don't even guarantee-
we try not to have them come when it's raining.
They don't
like
even
to
guarantee
because-
they're coming
Yeah.
until they're there.
Because there are some years we haven't gotten them.
Right, because being a municipality, Julie, we're usually a low man on totem poles, because
There's so
like I
much
say,
state
these
work.
guys get the state work, they're usually the ones that bid on us. And they'll make sure they got all their state stuff done. You'll see at some point, the state will come in, because they usually do the center line on the access road, Winhall Hollow Road in Old Town.
Yeah, we're just talking about the white lines on the
Right,
axis.
but I'm just explaining to Julie, I mean,
No,
that's.
I'm asking. Just asking.
Yeah, well, yes, we're doing just the fog lines, except for
Right.
Upper Taylor, we do the center line up.
Right, but the access road yellow line has disappeared. but-
Yeah.
At least most of the wrong one has disappeared.
Yes, that's true, that did
That
disappear.
did disappear fairly
That
well.
was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Beth called me, she said,
Okay.
what's going on?
No, we've had people complaining about not having the fog lines.
It was interesting.
Yes.
But- And to watch people try to stay within
Yes.
that coming down the road, I mean,
When it's saying.
Well, it was weird.
yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
All right, so sand,
You have two bids.
Pike and Hunter,
No, I'm sorry, on what, gravel? Are we on road, what are we on?
Sand.
Oh, sand, not road gravel, okay, sand. Yeah.
And
Pike was the low.
Yeah.
Pike was the low end, and for that spread, and after talking with the guys yesterday and today, we
so
got
have
samples.
you taken samples of the sand?
As they're talking to the guys yesterday and today, they got samples, and we all agree that Pike is, that's the sand we have.
I think it's a shame, I like Hunter a lot, but that's
Absolutely.
not gonna make the day. Pike
No.
is 24.52 a cubic yard, and Hunter is, for the
29.
record, 29 for the.
Yeah, so
for the-
$4.50, it's
And
worth
that's
it.
delivered
A cubic, look.
to our yard?
Yep.
Okay.
And they gave a price for delivering.
No, that's the
That's
gravel.
Oh, that's the
That's the
gravel,
gravel.
right.
So the sand is 24.52 for Pike cubic yard and 29 for Hunter. I move that we award to Pike for 24.52 a cubic yard.
Okay,
I second.
motion been made and seconded for Pike, 2452. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Alright?
Aye.
Okay, now we'll move on to gravel. Bill, you've been wanting to do gravel.
No, I'm just trying to, they were all mishmashed on the emails, so here we go.
I know, sorry.
But they have subjects. So, gravel. Yeah, so we have Hunter at $25 a cubic yard to stockpile and 28 to any other location. We have Pike at 26.64 cubic yard to stockpile and 27.67 to any other location. And we have Chaves at 26.50 to stockpile and 30 cubic yards to any other location. So it's between Hunter and, oh, I see, yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
they're all close, Bill.
They're all close.
I did figure it up. I mean, bang, when push comes to shove, Pike actually has a better deal-ish because they're only charging $1 more yard to go to any road in town.
Right. so
But
the
they're
three
already
dollars,
$1.64 more than Hunter.
Right.
And once again, we've gone through the samples and stuff, and we've all agreed that we've used Hunter before, and we're happy with his material.
So what's your
Good idea, how
suggestion?
many
Good go
yards?
with Hunter.
Good
Okay.
idea how much you're planning on buying?
It's usually around 4,000, but it all depends on the price, what the price comes in at. It's usually around 4,000 yards.
All right, so I move that we award Hunter the gravel bid.
And most of that will be delivered to the yard.
Usually I get 1,000 yards after July 1st, just in the stockyard. Then we pick a road, which sounds like I'm pretty sure it was going to be Sugar Bush this year. We're going to start graveling up there. 'Cause that's in dire need. And I usually try to save like 20 to 25,000 for spring. So for mud and whatever else, then whatever's left sits in the yard to get us through until the next batch.
I mean, not for nothing, well, there's a motion on the table, right? Isn't it seconded? So,
Motion made and seconded to have Hunter, and I had asked whether it was all going to be delivered to the yard or
yeah,
some on
and
site.
actually, so if we're gonna still have a discussion on it, which we could, because the motion's still pending, I mean, we have trucks and we have machines to fill trucks. Is there, I mean, I guess, I know it's convenient to take gravel and have it delivered on site where you've got your other equipment ready for grading. I'm
Why
just trying to
we-
understand, I'm not a road guy, you know?
Why we started doing that, Bill, is the timing, because then it just takes one guy to gravel a road, and the rest of the group can either be roadside
Doing
mowing,
something else.
or culverts, or ditching, or anything else, so it only ties up one guy to gravel a road.
Right, it's $3.
Instead of having it all hauled
Yeah,
up there
yeah.
and load it, and then haul it over there,
Yeah, no,
And-
Hunter will drop it off for an extra $3 a cubic yard.
not even that.
No, $3.
Well, it's $3 a yard.
It's $3 a cubic yard
Yeah.
on site, it's
So,
25.
but that's the main purpose behind it, Bill.
Right.
So instead of tying 4 guys up for a week.
Right, somebody's sitting there at the pile loading it, the
But no,
truck
it's not
going
somebody
back
sitting there
and
in the
forth.
pile, but you got somebody, the truck's going back and forth.
Actually,
and
probably you
nothing
might
else.
spend more than that in gas going back and
Correct.
forth,
Correct.
actually.
Yep.
So,
So
all right.
it's a way to expedite things a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Use
Okay,
the time better.
all right, motion was made and seconded for Hunter. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye. Okay,
okay.
you got anything else?
Just I was gonna bring up my new road close signs that we built. Has everybody seen them up on Old Town Road?
Yeah, they are blow over.
And that is why, are you repaving it, and what was that?
Well, we're replacing culverts, but the point is, Bill, we got rid of the little square ones that nobody liked.
Yeah.
So I took and we
Yeah, I
made
saw
some big
that.
ones that.
I did see that, yeah.
I haven't heard any negative report on them yet, but
No.
we've tried them out.
No.
Doesn't make any difference if we had a flashing traffic sign.
Yep.
People are gonna say, well, I didn't know it meant for me.
Yep.
But at least they're up, and we gotta get them up quick enough so that people can plan ahead.
Yep.
But I think it was better to have.
Yep.
So you probably haven't been up Old Town Road, because we've got them on Old Town Road.
Oh, yeah.
And they're 4x8 sheet of
Yeah,
plywood
I've
with a date and time.
Yeah.
I
that
did
is close.
see
Yeah,
that.
so on
I
the way to
saw
the
that.
transfer.
So you didn't pay attention to it.
No, I didn't go that way. So I
Okay.
did.
But no, that's it. I mean, we're just plugging along.
Yeah, okay,
No, I saw that the other day.
So
okay.
that's it.
That's it for you?
Yep.
Thank you.
Excellent, now what?
Okay, special town meeting July 1st.
That's
You-
happening.
You guys all set, Alec?
Yes.
You guys all set for a special town meeting?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Teresa. I thought you were just waving.
No, I waved earlier, but you
Okay,
came back.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, it's okay.
Well, what you
I
got?
just want to go back to contracts. Do we have a contract on the truck?
I
Yeah.
have not had a conversation with Greg yet. Have you heard from Greg?
I have not. I have his original bid, but we didn't move forward.
Okay, get that firmed up.
I just brought it up last time, so I just didn't want you to think I'd forgotten about it.
No, I haven't yet. I just, yeah, okay.
Okay, well, it was under contracts, I thought, so that's why I brought it. Thank you, sorry
Oh,
about that.
yeah, oh boy.
Thank you. Well, you'll get on that. Thank you. All right.
All right,
Alec.
special meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, so we do have our BCA meeting, Monday, June 23rd, I believe it is. So, yeah, just meet with BCA, set up, who's gonna take ballots.
June 23rd, 8 o'clock.
All
Okay.
that. Yep.
All right,
Think
so
we're good to go?
it's here,
It's here.
okay? All right. I guess then you're in
And absentee ballots are available if anybody wants to get an absentee
Yep.
ballot.
up until the 30th, right?
Up until the 30th.
Yep.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you for your efforts. And
Special town meeting.
That's what I asked for. Oh, special town meeting. Sorry.
What?
it's election of officers.
Right, but that's what I was just clarifying.
No, it's not a town meeting, it's an election of officers.
So, yeah,
Australian ballot.
it is a special town meeting
Yeah.
for election
But
of
just for the
select board.
election of officers.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well,
Thank
select board, two select board.
Yeah. All right, code of ethics ordinance.
That's
Is that-
in and passed and
that
officially
done
done
yet?
and over, yeah.
So do we need to do anything?
No, we should take it off,
It's
actually.
in,
Yeah, I'll take it off the agenda.
okay. All right, that's done.
Short-term rentals.
Short-term rentals.
Pain in the ass, I don't know, what did Doug get back to you at all? Nothing. So we authorized Melissa to sign that contract.
I sent it back. I said, when are we gonna meet again?
And at this point, I don't know when we're meeting. So, I mean,
I don't know.
you know, there was no way for, it would have been nice to have an accommodation that we had been discussing with them, but it wasn't worth breaching the contract by us to get into a big lawsuit with them, in my opinion. So, I thought the
So you told them we're ready to sign?
No,
Already
she
signed.
signed it and sent it on,
I'm
but
waiting
Doug
for the
hasn't
fully
signed it,
executed.
and at this point, I mean, unless Christie's not here, right, is she?
No.
So, at this one, we were meeting every other Friday, and then things went on sort of hold, and also whatever, it populates through Microsoft Word Teams. When they send something out, it populates into Outlook, and I don't use that. So it wasn't populated in mine, but
I have nothing scheduled.
I have nothing scheduled. Yeah, and Christie had nothing scheduled, and we haven't heard anything now. So that it's a little bizarre because we
Will you
accepted
try-
their terms. We accepted their terms.
So will you
And we're
reach
ready
out
to
to them
move
and say,
forward.
hey, what's up? I mean, if you're not gonna fulfill it.
I did.
Well,
I did.
we'll see. I mean, at some point, yeah, we might have an opportunity to get out. We didn't, based on the discussions we had, as far as I could see. There was no opportunity.
But if they're not gonna step up now.
Right, I don't think that's gonna happen, and they're not terrible. You know, there were some other choices that may or may not be better, but at this point, we don't really have, I don't believe we have the legal right to deal with that. Just keep, and we don't want to, we wanna just move forward. So the other thing that's happening in short-term rentals is I drafted up an information card to get sent out to, it'll actually, once we finalize it, it'll get sent out, I sent it to Lisa and Christie. And just sort of a notice to all residents saying, this is where we are, this is what's happening, and if you have a, if you're a homeowner that's upset, there's gonna be a hotline number. There is one, I mean, all the companies have it, so I'm thinking we're going with CoverOS. I don't know what their story is or why we're not hearing
It
from
has to
them.
go way up above
But we're
Douglas.
past that now, so I'm not sure why. Yes, it did, which is why we waited 3 or 4 weeks to hear back about what date they would agree to and how we could accommodate this and all of that. But, so it's a notice to people that don't have short-term rentals that, when you have a problem, there's going to be a way to address it. And a notice to the people that have short-term rentals to start collecting your data and information and all of your stuff. And Christie has even checked with Jennifer at OS, who is setting it all up, and she had told her that, yes, we can start, we're going to try to start taking it in now so that Christie isn't overwhelmed, like when it hits, although...
At least
And
it's
so that
started.
people are ready. I need people to start getting ready. The list of what the requirements for compliance with getting a license, it takes some work. I mean,
Is
if you
that all
don't
on the
have-
website?
There
It's on the
is,
website.
yes.
Yeah, there's a list of requirements, actually. There's actually a separate page, list of
Yeah.
requirements. So, that's where we are with that, and,
I would like us to do a newsletter, like we haven't done one
Oh,
in
we
a
haven't
couple
done one in a
years. But to go out like July 1st.
Yeah.
And we can get all the departments, election.
Well, why
That's
don't
a
we wait
nice
till
thing.
after July 1st so we know who the new members are, the new
That's
select
true,
board
too.
members? No point sending out July 1st, the day of the election.
right, it'd be nice to announce
We
the
don't
new
know
members.
who.
Okay.
Right?
All right, let's do July 2nd.
Also, that only goes to a limited list that Lissa has. That doesn't go to, so the card that I'm talking about, to those
No,
people-
I agree
Okay.
that we need to
That's,
do,
that's every taxpayer in town.
yes, I agree we
Okay,
need to
yeah.
do that. But also that we need to do a newsletter.
Sure.
Yes, it has been a while.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Bill,
Everybody's
when are you planning on putting that out?
The card?
Yeah, when are you guys planning on mailing that?
Well, we haven't
I don't have to
finalized
wait
it. I just wrote it.
Well, it'll be,
GovOS has to give us the
Why?
official
What's the
word live.
concern?
So, because I mean, in the last couple of years, we've thrown stuff into the tax bills when they've gone out.
Oh, no, it'll be before that.
Okay.
No, because that's August.
It's end of July, but I was.
I'm hoping that that's,
On postage, so.
I'm hoping that's.
They said live by June, the end
They
of June.
previously had said that they would be live by June 25th. Now I don't know what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
But I definitely want people that have short-term rentals to start to get this. That checklist has a lot of information on it and a lot for them to do. So I'd like to get it out as soon as possible, but it's been on hold a little bit. Well, I mean, no, I drafted it. We need to sit down, you, me, and Christie, I think, and just review, or nobody responded. I mean, I spoke to Christie a lot, but we didn't go over what I wrote. I mean, it was just a quick here's what should go on a card, I think.
So I've had several phone calls, one big one, which will probably be a huge chunk of the short-term rentals from Melanie Morris at Stratton, because they rent out a bunch of homes. So she wanted the grand list of Winhall so she could sort it by road to be able to pick out her properties that are actually Winhall, not the Stratton, because of the line. And everybody I've just sent over to Christie at her email.
Okay.
Right, but Melanie needs the grand list. I mean, I have it.
She
Doug
had-
has.
no, Doug
Did you get it from Doug? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's easy.
10 minutes, it was all done.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Because Doug gave that to us for GovOS,
All right.
because they needed it.
So we're sort of started, and we just have to get GovOS there on board here and get going. So I guess reach out to them again and say, hey, we're
Yeah, no,
ready, our
reach
person
out.
is in place.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, public safety facility.
So we were going to put together a group of people, correct?
Oh, a committee.
Right, so that's the other thing I was thinking about, the newsletter too. Like, that could be another way to generate that information, and we could post it at the posting sites.
Yeah, so again, that newsletter doesn't go out to everyone.
That's why I'm saying
suggest that we
post
send,
it at the posting sites. I mean,
it still doesn't go out to everyone. It only goes out to people that are here in town.
well, I think you'd have to be here in town to be on the committee for a building in town.
I don't know, that's not necessarily nowadays. Heck, you have all your meetings on Zoom. I mean, nobody's here. I mean, me, I'm here, you're here. Sometimes
put it in the
Nancy's here.
We can
Yeah.
put this.
Not everybody reads the bulletin boards, let's be honest.
Yeah, we
I mean,
should
they're
do-
posted, but they're not there.
Right.
I mean, if we're gonna get a committee for $5 million building, or however much that building's gonna
The other-
cost us, I think you should at least have the decency to include every taxpayer.
Well, that's what I said, and the last time it's every taxpayer, which includes all voters, and the last meeting, the rationale there was that we don't know what expertise people have.
Well, and some voters are not taxpayers, they rent or they lease, or, so that's why I'm saying,
Oh,
take both lists and then just leave the
oh, you did bring that
duplicates
up last time, I didn't
off. Yeah,
understand.
clean the duplicates off.
Right, if they're not a property owner, then they're not on the, right, that makes sense. Oh, take the duplicates off and.
Right, and take off.
So it'll be more than eight, what are we at now? Not the 817, what are we
We're
at?
at 805.
No, what are we at for,
Oh, the tax
You know?
Parcels,
1930 or something?
yeah, it's just under $2,000.
Right, so it's actually-
And some of them are contiguous, right? I mean,
right,
you know,
oh,
some people have a couple, own a couple, so.
well, the tax bill, contiguous parcels are on one tax bill.
Yeah, but like, not all, like, I mean, Stewart, you've got a couple properties that aren't all on the same tax bill, something like
Ah.
that. I mean, I'm on 2 tax bills, so.
Right, I see. So I mean, it's a little more energy, but you're saying, so cull out the tax bills and
That would be-
the voter list and the tax bill and make one new list.
Yeah.
Well, and usually Express Copy will do that for you if you ask them.
Oh,
And take off the state forest, the national, all those that.
Right, that don't count,
Get
right.
rid of those.
I don't think we need to send it to Stratton.
right, I'm just thinking that all the people, we don't know what expertise some people.
So are you saying we're going to do a postcard for the short-term rentals and a postcard?
That's what I think, yeah.
For,
Can we?
The short-term rentals, is only going to, the short-term rentals are only going to the taxpayers.
but you were saying you wanted everybody to know about the number that could call
Right, that's
if there's
taxpayer.
a problem.
Right, taxpayer, not voters.
But if there's a problem with the short-term rental, that may not be a taxpayer.
Well, can't we refer them to?
Oh, you mean if somebody is renting a
That's
house?
what I
If
understood.
somebody's renting a house and
Next
they don't
to-
own it,
Next to
and it's
someone.
next to a short-term rental.
I mean,
We're not gonna solve all those problems. We can refer to the
No, I'm just-
website, say, go to the website, and here's.
I'm just
more information.
wondering
Well,
if
we
we
could
could
do one
do one
card.
card.
One
That's what I'm
card.
thinking.
One card.
Teresa?
I'd like to hear
One card.
some conversation amongst you about what the intent is of the compromise, of who will be on the committee. What are you looking You know, I mean, what,
Me personally?
I know, not even, you know.
Well, no, I can only tell you what I personally.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe you should have that discussion. It seems a little premature to start getting people interested if you don't know what you want the makeup of the committee to entail.
Well,
I was trying to save you a little footwork, maybe.
Also, at the last meeting, we were saying we only wanted like 5 to 7 people. If we open it up, we're gonna have 20 people.
I know, and you know, and I'm gonna tell you, just my opinion, they work for you, not the other way around. So whatever you give them for people to work with, they should just be amenable to that. You know, I understand it's difficult, but I'm telling you, I've been part of search committees that have been 15 or 20 people. I'm not suggesting it has to be there.
Yeah, no.
But they're only an advisory committee, and they're just gathering information to report back to you. It's not like they're a decision-making
No, they can't make any decisions.
So I'm just saying, it seems to me, rather than just get all these people, maybe you guys should talk amongst yourself and try and decide what you'd like that committee to incorporate.
You know, or maybe the easier end of it is to wait till after July 1st and just make a committee of some select people. Two doesn't count as 3. 3 would not be advisory anymore. I don't know.
I think you have so many professionals in your
Right.
community that it would be a shame to not reach out to them and at least offer somebody new a chance to get on a committee. Get their
Yeah, I don't have
foot in
an
the
objection
door.
to it, but I'm hearing what Teresa said.
Yeah.
How do you what's the criteria?
Well, yeah, I mean,
You know, do I just want to be on a committee?
And you may only get 5 people that apply, but if you get the information out now,
Yeah, I wouldn't expect, quite frankly.
I mean, maybe the person's only value that they bring is that they have an interest because they're a taxpayer in town. Maybe they don't have any special credentials.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, not
Right.
necessarily a bad
So,
thing.
I know,
But I am sort of looking for people that maybe, that do have.
Of course, that's always a benefit.
There are some engineers.
Yeah,
there are
engineers,
some-
architects,
There are some people who are involved in other fire departments who
Yeah.
have been through the process.
Right.
You know, that, I mean,
So I'm just-
Well, we could try to put it onto one card and reframe it. Put it all on one card. I mean, my card had, was just a draft.
and you have some people that, and I hate to say this, but you have some people that do not go on the internet. They're not computer people, especially your older generation, like Lawrence. He's very smart in that kind of work, but you're not going to get him to try to go onto a link and sign up to something.
the Zoom call and look at maps and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
well, the Zoom, we could work around something like
Yeah.
that, but as far as like finding the information, like we should have it downstairs posted, and should have the basic stuff on the postcard, I think, in my opinion. Not that anybody asks.
I mean, if there's no criteria, that's fine. Just say you don't have to have a skill set then.
Well, I guess it would just say we're looking for people to assist in evaluating and proceeding with the public, with the development of the public safety
It doesn't
building.
mean that if you have a lot of people and you think it's too many, that you can't say, let's.
Oh yeah, we don't have to pick on them all.
So if it's
Exactly.
this,
I
and
mean, if you're,
then one
if you have
side
an awful lot of people, which I don't know if
looking
you will, but.
for interested Winhall property.
So you want to
Winhall
share?
residents and property owners.
She's trying to help me understand.
Well, I know, but I mean, we got 2 conversations going now.
Well, I'm asking Lissa we need to put together this postcard, and I'm trying to filter down the messaging so we're not sending a postcard that is
No,
the
it's only
size
this
of.
big.
Well, we're talking about a lot of different things.
Right, but I already wrote the first part of it with the short-term rentals, and there's plenty of room on that to move it up, put one line across it and say, we're also looking for, right, anyone in town that's willing to participate in the committee.
But
to
you're
assist.
also saying property owners, so it's not just people in town. So that's what I was trying to explain. I was trying to figure out a way to word it that says Winhall property owners and residents is how it should be worded if you want to include the people who own
Yeah,
property.
it's all going to property owners and residents, correct. That was at the top, actually, of the draft card. The top of the draft card had that.
So how do we want to proceed? Are we going to,
I mean, do we have to wait until the GovOS website is live? to
No, that's the
send it?
whole point.
But we should definitely wait till we know when we're gonna start moving forward, because we could put that website out, but it's not going anywhere.
But the information, we're not putting the website out, the information,
It should be on the card.
It could be, but it's not gonna be active. The point of the card is that Christie can start getting this information from people, because they can then upload it into the website. It doesn't have to be, it does eventually have to be through their website.
Did you send out, I don't remember seeing a
What?
postcard, and what
came
is
No,
just-
it only went to Lissa, and it only went to Lissa and Christie, because it was a draft that we're working on. So it didn't go there. Let's see
all
where.
right, so how are we going to proceed with that? Are we going to let Bill and Melissa work on it and
Yeah.
try to finalize it and give us just a quick look at it and do it? Or are we going to wait until
I
the
think
next meeting or what?
I think it's fine to do it. I just want to make sure we don't have to do it twice.
How about I put something together based on Bill's template and then add the.
Yeah, here it is.
And then send it to everybody.
That sounds great.
So I titled it, Notice to Taxpayers, Short-Term Rental Ordinance Update, which, so you want to say Notice to Taxpayers and Residents.
I think so.
Short-Term Rental Ordinance and Update, and then there's another, and then under that, there's still plenty of room on this card to say something else. Well, or we could just make the font smaller and people can wear glasses. I mean, it's,
Well,
because it's a short-term rental ordinance update, and now it's, just to save the cost of 2 mailings, it's so notice to taxpayers and residents.
well, and also there could be short-term rentals that GovOS doesn't find that we find out because a resident is like, hey, this is a short-term rental, it's not
Right, well, that can happen. but That's theoretically not, I mean, we're paying for scraping, so that doesn't happen, but
Right,
you never know.
hopefully they will
Right.
come forward
Could be different.
and register.
But so you want to, so this was just the short-term rental. So the second part is
Interested
right.
people to serve on
It's
a
the
committee.
same thing. Notice to taxpayers and residents, but it's a different. Let's see. Here, I'll send you this, and we can work on it even more. But this is simple.
Well, and this is not postcard size, so we'll have to.
Well, what I have it is, and it isn't. I mean, it's on an 8.5 by 11 page, but the actual part that's doing is postcard.
What happens if we put it, I'm sorry, Al, what happened if we put it on a page and had it folded and sent as a trifold and not as a postcard? I mean, is there any advantage to that?
Well, then you have to pay for folding and mailing and envelopes.
I think a
Not
postcard's cheaper.
envelopes, huh?
I think a postcard's cheaper.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, Al.
Oh, you meant like
I
this.
apologize. I had to say what I was going to say, or forget it.
That's all right. So I think, if you're gonna, two residents and property owners, big and bold right at the top, and then clearly differentiate, maybe not have it include like 2 residents and property owners, short-term rental update, like maybe even have them side by side instead of one over the other, because someone would go, short-term rental,
Throw it away.
throw it away.
That's, you were saying straight down the middle with the, I like that line.
Yeah, I think straight down the middle, because then it would clearly differentiate that there's 2 very different things to read up on. Maybe short-term rental update and then public safety
Okay,
facility.
yeah, not a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, okay. Well, I guess, so Bill and Melissa, you guys gonna be able to work on that and try to come up with something for us? Thank you. All right, we'll move on. Townwide appraisal. I assume it's still happening?
I'm not sure. I'm just wondering. So, in this thing, and we can talk about it later, I guess. But so any resident that's interested in this does what?
Contact, it would be probably show up at a meeting, right? And
Well, someone may not be able to come to a meeting.
Or email-
because it's
Email me.
email Lissa, letter of interest. Or email or mail.
Okay. All right, we all set with that? Okay,
Yeah.
reappraisal, Lucia, have you heard anything? It's still ongoing?
Yeah, they haven't gotten that far.
They haven't gotten
They,
it,
Doug
well,
said that he sent out, that the last thing he told me was that they had sent out 60 mailings. The mailings come 2 weeks before your appointment. And the last one he said was there were 60, and I said, how far up are they? He said they're still way down. You know,
yeah,
they're getting attacked.
they're trying to
So it'll
fulfill
be a
time,
while.
and they'll have to get around to it one day. Yes, guys.
So I was speaking with Doug on Monday, and we checked the website. On the homepage, there's supposed to be a NIMRIC reappraisal button so that people can go on there. They have their own special code for each property. So you, once they've been and visited, you can actually put your code in.
There is.
And I didn't see it on there when Doug and I looked on Monday.
I saw it on there, and people were saying, well, where do I get my code? And I said, you don't get your code until you get your letter.
It didn't come up on the homepage and it wasn't under Doug's stuff. So he was concerned because it's supposed to be up
It's
there.
not the homepage, it's on the listers page, right? I saw it.
I know.
A few weeks
All
ago.
It was a
right,
while ago.
we'll talk about it. Why don't you take a quick look, see if you can find it?
Well, I mean, I could also plug in if we have other questions on the website. And if you want it up on the screen,
Well,
you have your new little thing. And
so, yeah, okay.
I can put under news on the homepage.
Under news?
Under news on the homepage. if it
Yeah,
has to
because
be on the
he
homepage.
said like it had to be on the homepage. That's what Doug said specifically. And I know what it looks like when I was looking for it because I had gone
You
on
looked
to
at some other
Peru's.
towns.
I had gone on to Peru's because I was helping a Peru resident who's not computer literate.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. All right, new business. We
I
got,
have,
okay?
I was hoping we could schedule an employee cookout Monday, June 30th, Town Garage.
June 30th?
Why, is that not
That's
good?
the last day for somebody to get absentee ballots. That's the day before the election.
We've got to,
I don't know.
yeah, we've got to set up for election.
I would,
We're hoping that-
all the setup, I don't know, maybe you're not part of it. All the setup, did you get the 23rd? There's a BCA meeting?
Yeah, it's, people can just grab lunch. That's all I'm saying.
I like
Not that-
lunch.
Not that anybody, but we don't have to do it. I was gonna have
So
thank
that's a Monday.
barbecue.
That's a Monday, right?
Yeah, and I thought before the holiday weekend, it'd be nice to do for the employees.
Holy weekend.
On what day are you suggesting?
If you did it after, people could actually meet the new select board.
Right, that would be a good thing too.
Okay, I will get dates for.
Because the holiday, so you said, didn't you, what did you say? You said Monday, June 30th.
Yes,
The
but we can,
holiday is Friday the 4th.
and just, I was
Oh,
trying,
and mine says GovOS meeting Friday the 4th.
I have nothing.
I'd just like to say that thank you for trying to put together an employee cookout.
Yes, I
We
think
would
that's
all really
great.
love Thanks Barbecue.
Yes.
all right. I will get a date from him in July. Mondays usually work best.
Well, that would be the 7th, right after, and by then, right.
I will get, and we will have one in July.
Okay, I won't be here by then, I'll be in Alaska. But that's okay, don't
I'll eat some ribs for
don't
you.
hold off on me.
Don't worry about that.
I
I'll be
also
up 22 and a half
have
hours.
something under new business to bring out myself. And this has to do with the number of storage.
The number of what?
Storage units.
Storage units?
Yeah,
Storage units.
Okay,
around town. You have one down there with Isaiah Slade.
Oh, you're talking about freestanding from the.
you mean Connex, like the two I
Yeah.
have?
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah, so most of them are permitted, zoning permits.
Really?
And my question to the board is, I don't think it's necessary to permit it.
I don't either. They're temporary, aren't they? I mean,
Yes, they are.
I guess if you see it there and it's for a long, if it stays there forever, I'd have a.
Well, I mean, Joe Belcher has a permit.
Oh, I see. Actually, Isaiah has a few that he uses for permanent, like garage
He has a
storage.
new one.
That's up front, but he has 2 or 3 in the back that he's used.
I think those are permitted.
Oh, okay.
The one up
think mine were
one is
permitted.
not.
I believe mine were permitted.
Yeah.
I think I did.
Most of them are.
I guess the question is if it's temporary or if it's planning to be a full-time storage unit that you bought and you're leaving them. You know, a lot of people get them and they're temporary.
Yeah, they are. Now, for
Nothing's
example,
temporary.
Nothing's temporary.
on Old Town Road,
Yeah,
there are two.
okay.
They're both on the road. They do not meet the setback and never could. However, I made a decision to let them go. One, the people living there have no money. And two, it was either a unit to put all their junk in or junk everywhere. You know, and my way of thinking is those units clean up possible eyesores. And so I have not issued a zoning permit for Isaiah. I have not issued a zoning permit for the two guys on Old Town Road. Everything else in town is permitted.
Huh. I think that's your call as zoning administrator.
Which I would say that we'll back her.
Yes. Yeah, your call. What
I
is it?
realize that they're popping up more and more. I don't want to see somebody end up with 8 of them in their yard
Oh, no.
because, and then are you gonna make them get a permit? Because I'm pretty sure the ones on Old Town Road aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Those aren't here for like a month.
So that's the point, those should be permitted then.
You've made Stewart get a permit, you've made Homestead get permits.
They all have them.
Yes, they do. So Doug's is one of those move store things.
I think that's a temporary.
That's been there for 2 years.
That's it?
So,
Yeah, it has, since
So someone had told me
No,
that.
Doug has one. He has a permit.
he has a permit.
So.
And that is
was
a
while-
that is theoretically a temporary thing because he sold the house
Yeah.
2 years ago, 3 even maybe.
my concern is that you can't pick and choose who you make get a permit. Because you've made everybody else get a permit.
Well, this is.
Well, then the other question is, when you go and issue a permit, are these things on the properties, are they meet setbacks?
They have to meet setbacks.
Okay, well, they should meet
The
setbacks.
two on Old Town Road, no matter where they put them,
Yeah, it's very
will
small.
not make the setback from Old Town Road. They will not.
Correct.
So I don't even know where they would go. Isaiah, who has put one
On the front
right
lawn.
on the road,
Was on the front
the
lawn.
only thing I can say with that one is it doesn't further encroach on the road than Slade's house.
Right, it's in front of the house.
You know, it's
It's
right
at the same setback.
Yeah.
It's the
yeah.
same setback.
Yeah.
Now, we would have to get a variance from the ZBA for the two on Old Town Road. So it would involve the zoning board of adjustment,
Right, but that's up to you.
variances,
Right, this isn't our purview.
and those are the only, no, I'm not going to allow 25 storage units. I've had no, and if someone, I can make the call when somebody says we want to put a storage unit up, here's what we want to do, then I can make the call, yeah, you need a zoning permit.
Okay. I guess I'll have to think about that just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think
I
it's,
don't know,
I
just
don't
a
know.
second, we got some more input.
So it came up because I had a complaint about the two, and then I saw Isaiah's pop up, and they seem to be popping up more. I just don't, I mean, we have a nice town, you drive through it, it's a nice town, we don't have
Yeah.
litter, we don't have, pretty much most places are clean yards, and
that's
not to
why-
be finicky, but kinda like it that way.
Right, well,
That's why those two on Old Town Road, that was a whole lot better since they got all their stuff in them.
yeah, from being jerked
Well-
out. So anyway, this is not a select board issue at all. I'm not sure what we're discussing.
I am-
This is your issue,
Just
as
a
zoning
second, just a
administrator.
second, look, Lucia.
I guess my only concern is that if people had to get permits for them before, but now we're not getting permits, like, if you had to get permits for your 2, then you had to pay for that, but now nobody else has to get permits for them.
Where did we get the
And I'm not saying that, I don't
Where do
necessarily.
we get the nobody has to get permits for it? I'm missing
Well,
this part.
if we're not charging, if we're not
So,
issuing permits for them anymore, we're not
It's
charging
it's
them.
Lucia's job.
I have so far, the only 2 I don't have a permit for.
Is the Isaiah
Isaiah and the Old
and those 2
Town
old
Road.
towns. So you got
And
on
I
it.
haven't said no more permits.
Right.
I do know that they are temporary, that
Yeah, but
Isaiah,
they may not be. Like Isaiah's is in and Stewart's is in.
yeah, and the one on Old Town, it looks like one is in and one is a rental. So I will have to go there. There are now up to 2 of them. They would have to meet the 40-foot setback. They would have to
Or
move
go to
them.
the ZBA, because there is no 40-foot setback.
There
There's
is
no 40,
no way
there's no
that-
25-foot setbacks on those lots.
There's no way they could meet that setback. So the question is ZBA for a variance. ZBA won't give them one,
So,
and they will have to remove them.
Well,
should-
maybe.
And then the duck comes back out onto the yard.
should you bring this up before your zoning board and
Well-
ask for their advice?
See if they'll do it.
Because you got, you're the zoning administrator.
I
But your zoning board asked for their input on this to see how they feel about it, because that's really their division.
Well,
And I mean, and then I believe we will probably back you, whatever you
yeah,
decide.
we have to figure out what's reasonable. I have it on the agenda for the planning commission meeting next week. Not a planning commission, but they are an advisory board to me.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring it
Well,
up.
I would say bring it up to them and get their feedback,
Yeah, I will.
and then because really, we can't tell you what to do.
Well, I'm asking for help, so,
Right, I mean, and we'll try to give you help, but I think you better talk to your
I will talk to you.
And as far as the ZBA, I mean, really, the process, I mean, you can do your process however you want, but the process is, you issue a notice of
I
violation
have to
because...
deny it pending ZBA approval.
Right, and then the ZBA would take it up. I mean, you can go ask the ZBA, what do you think you would do in this situation? And would you,
Well,
I mean, you can't even say whether someone will grant or won't grant a variance for whatever reason.
I
That's up
can't
to
speak for
the
the
full
board.
board. Right,
Right.
so,
But what I can do, Douglas is chair of that board.
yes.
I will ask him for his opinion. I often do. We have a variance coming
Sure.
up. So I will have a conversation with him, and I will have a conversation with the planning commission to get some more feedback.
Right. Well, why don't you let us know how that goes? And
Yeah, I don't know
and
what
then-
Report back.
It's up to you, but I don't think the planning commission has anything to do with it, but if you want
Well,
to make it,
I don't know, I mean, what,
It's up to you.
I mean, the problem is
you're
chief
the
zoning
zoning administrator.
administrator, but the planning board is
It's
under
not-
your purview.
Well, it's not under my
No,
purview,
no.
I'm under theirs.
Okay.
I'm on that planning commission, but they act as an advisory board when the zoning administrator has a question.
I guess you better start there and let us know how
I
it goes,
will.
and
I'm
we'll...
not sure where
we'll-
that comes from.
I
Yeah,
don't-
no, Marcel, we had it when Marcel was,
Well, Marcel was your advisor no matter what the
Yeah.
situation was.
right.
But rest his soul.
You know, I'm trying to do the right thing so that Beth will be happy, Al will be happy, the select board will be happy,
Okay?
planning will be happy, and
Now, you
I
gotta
will
remember, you can only please half the people half the time.
You know, I don't want to be unilateral in this,
Well,
like Al is right. I can't say, no, you don't need a
No.
permit, you do do.
No, you have to administer the zoning
Right.
ordinances the way they are. Now, the planning commission is rewriting the zoning ordinances as we speak, from what I
Well, not-
understand.
we will.
But they're not gonna change that. They're not gonna change our setbacks.
No, no.
So that's gonna stay in place. So
Yeah.
the zoning administrator's job would be to go and issue violation notices, and then they would go to the ZBA to see if possibly they can keep them, and if they can't, then I don't know what they do with them.
They have to move them.
Then, well, they'd have to move them, and like your concern is that, you know, they can move them to somebody else's property if they don't want to empty. You know, your concern is that you're thinking, and it's just a thought, that they're gonna empty it all out and
They
get
will.
rid of the
Right.
containers, and now you're gonna have a mess all
Which you
over.
can't do anything about, because people can have the yard the way they want to.
Right.
Right.
I don't have any control over that one.
Correct.
Right.
That-
Maybe we could just offer better placement, like Isaiah's could be
Well, his,
back where the greenhouse was, and Steve and Sean's could line up with the house so it isn't right by the road.
Yeah, it still won't make the...
Isaiah's could make 40 feet setback just by pushing it back.
Well, he can get a variance, because he's not further encroaching.
Or he could put it over where his other ones
He
are.
has a pre-existing house,
Yes.
so the ZBA could issue a variance for
Right.
that one based on the fact that it doesn't further encroach on
You
the
okay?
Right, there's no
setback.
further encroachment.
You okay?
It kind of is.
All right.
Kind of is
Yes, I'm-
further.
Are you all right?
No.
Okay,
So, you know, we have water. You want some water?
okay.
So,
Okay. Can we call a doctor?
let me iron it out, speak with Doug,
Okay.
speak with the planning
Okay.
commission, and then I haven't had any new ones come up.
Okay.
Those are the only ones out
Okay.
there. And see what we can do.
Okay, let us know what we can do to help and what you have.
Yeah, it's not gonna, it's not gonna.
You got something, Teresa, you just waving?
Well, no, I was waiting earlier.
Okay.
I'm going back to old business, because I didn't realize we were jumping ahead so soon.
Which part?
So it's not on there, it's my old business. I just wanted to ask about the transfer station, where we stand with that. Scott was quite concerned that we might be closing.
Oh, no. That's the,
He has already visited, I believe,
We
20,
have approval from the state
Okay.
that we
Yes.
meet all their compliance for that particular year.
I just didn't, I had it in my notes, so that's.
no, that's a good thing to.
It was a little scary, but we,
Well, yeah, okay, all right.
We
So
really-
that's
he's
all.
had to visit a lot of people and give them a
Because we have to be
presentation.
our own solid waste district, because we
Right.
got out of the other one, you know, the store.
Right.
Okay.
So it's all set, that's all I
Yes.
was wondering about.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's all set. We still gotta, we don't
Yeah.
have to open Kendall Park. You had something else new?
Yes, so
I
this
did too.
might be of interest to you. So the governor has put a lot of emphasis on housing and
sent you a
figuring
link today.
out what,
I
get
just
money.
got
So
something from housing.
there is a bill on Governor Scott's desk
But he may or may not
that
sign.
is called the Community and Housing Infrastructure Program,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I
which
read that.
will authorize infrastructure projects of up to $200 million each year over the next year. So
Right.
somebody can find some land within the village
Yeah,
center
that's
that
fine,
we
yeah.
could have housing. We could get money to
Yeah.
figure out a wastewater system. I'm
Okay,
just
so-
putting that out there.
So is there a form to fill out?
No, it's not even
It's
passed
not even
yet. I
passed
sent it
yet.
to
Okay,
you
so
and
we're
Nancy
waiting,
this
we're waiting to
afternoon.
see if it passes, and then we have to see if we can get on the program. No, that's great. I mean, that would be lovely.
That would be a way to, but we would have to figure out the
Well,
housing.
if there is some money available for purchase of land, there is a possibility there are some places in town. But they're not going to be donated because everything is expensive here. All property is expensive, and it has to be, I believe, the way the affordable income thing is, they want it pretty close to town centers. They don't want it at the end of Kendall Farm Road where
Actually, I think in this case, what they're funding is they would fund Kevin Bopp's property to become it, because, I'll read you the language. It said, "The focus is born on the recognition that one of the greatest barriers to housing development and one of the biggest cost drivers is installing infrastructure to support housing, such as new roads, sidewalks, water or wastewater systems, telecommunications, flood preparedness infrastructure, and more. As such, the administration proposed a project-based form of tax increment financing," which, if you recall, when we went 3 years ago to a housing seminar down in Wilmington, they talked about TIF, which you and I had no concept of what it is because it's for bigger towns. Well, now it's coming down to all communities.
so there's a possibility.
It might, right.
Yeah.
And you're right. So this is something called CHIP. And we'll...
Yeah, I have it too, I saw that.
Yeah, it came...
So we're waiting to see if the governor signs it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he does, then we gotta get...
Look into it more.
Hopefully, yeah.
But I would think actually that in your housing committee, I mean, Janet, of all people, and she must be like a pretty big part of
Wyndham
this.
County, you mean? You mean?
Janet Hurley is in our housing committee.
Right, but I'm talking also Wyndham Regional should know something about this also.
Oh yeah, they would know. And
we-
BLCT will. They'll be sending out more
The
if it passes.
Cornerstone Housing Partners, it's 3 different groups that have joined together
Right.
on that side of things. Oh, there we go. Wow.
There you go.
So, anyways, well, that would be great if we could get into a program like that. I mean,
Yes.
It says infrastructure program up to 200 million each year over the next 10 years. It's the community and housing infrastructure.
Londonderry got
They-
$8 million
To put in a wastewater
to
system.
put in a wastewater.
Yeah, and they're fighting over it.
Yeah,
so
they're fighting over it.
It's a big
I
problem.
talked to their short-term rental administrator today.
That's a whole nother issue. They
Well,
lost a select
I know,
person on
but
that.
that, he came and introduced himself, and because,
Isn't Gordon, who's the short-term rent, isn't it?
I'm terrible with
I think
names.
it's
What's your
Gordon.
name, sir?
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyways,
Mine's not the first one to go.
so they are working on that in Londonderry, and they're not getting an awful lot of cooperation. But they received an $8 million grant to try
Yes.
to do something between Londonderry.
And that has nothing to do with this. They
I
have
know,
that, they have that.
I know.
They got that
But
money.
it just, so, yeah, that would be great if this thing goes through.
Yeah, still, I mean, at Julie's point, I mean, so where?
I've got some ideas, but I'm not gonna put anything out there right now, because anything I say is gonna get shot down. So I'll just wait. If we get further along, I have some ideas about some properties that might be available. There's no point in me mentioning anything because I'm tainted. So I'm just
Well,
gonna,
only, you mean if you're bringing the Winhall Stratton Fire District down?
whatever.
Yeah,
Anything
you're
I
tainted
bring up,
in
I'm
that.
tainted, so
No,
I'm
you're
gonna
in
stay away from it. There
tainted
are
is wrong.
places that I
You're in
believe
conflict
that
with
would
that.
work, okay? And it's not gonna help me. I have 2 systems in town that are working well. I don't need the sewer district. I want a
One that
public
wants a
sewer.
bathroom.
I think the motoring public should be able to pull into this town and not have to take their little girl out behind the car to take a pee.
Well, why don't you have your lease with 7-Eleven?
Because they go in there and there's half a roll of toilet paper on the floor after someone goes in the thing.
Well,
So they
that's
say,
all
no,
another
we're not
thing.
gonna do this.
I don't know.
Because people are slobs.
The R&D is the R&D. The Rossingville Marketplace has 2 gorgeous bathrooms.
And there,
Not too far
at
away.
times you walk in there and the doors are locked, says, nope, sorry, out of service.
I only had that
Okay.
during COVID. But we also have public bathrooms here, it's just the building isn't open all the time.
What about our community center? We maintain that, we give money to that.
100%.
No.
I mean, I'm not trying to disallow.
No, I mean, there could be using a bathroom in the community center. I fully agree.
I mean, that should
What's-
be-
1 or 2 years, we actually hired a.
We had a porta
I had a
potty.
porta potty over
And it
there.
was sitting.
And it was better than nothing. But
Right.
it just, not that,
Yeah, you can get.
And I'm not sure, and I know that's your issue.
all right, we're getting off
Yes.
the
Yeah,
subject.
I just wanted to bring it up.
No, I think
If
it's
you're
great.
interested in calling the governor to tell him your support.
Yes, he said he's
For-
doing a deep dive now to determine whether he will sign it into law.
So,
He's diving.
When was that?
This is today.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
this came
All right.
today.
All right, let's move on.
I have another new business item, which we're not gonna fully discuss right here now, because I think we need Deb here to fully discuss it, and I think we need an executive session. So the thing is that years ago, when Kate Coleman was not giving us any of our information, very little information on, finances and whatnot, I think we stipend a little, there was a stipend with it, but we asked Lissa to mirror everything and do that work so that, we knew what the heck was going on.
I'm not gonna touch the
Well,
glass.
at this point now, we have Deb, who is incredibly good at the job that she does,
Sorry.
but Liz is still doing the payroll. And
Accounts payable.
accounts payable, yeah, which is.
And payroll.
Accounts payable and payroll. So, I don't know why that's happening. That was traditionally has always been the treasurer's job. The only other reason we need to discuss, we need to discuss it with Deb. I don't know why she wouldn't do that as part of her job. And I don't see why it really needs to be listed. And then the other is that it's not Nicole. Who's the Nicole replacement?
Ashley.
Ashley, yes, I love her.
So,
Ask Kat.
so-
She has offered to also do it but she would want a stipend to do it or
well.
something. And I don't think that she necessarily has, I don't know.
She wants to do accounts payable?
We haven't, I don't believe we have fully discussed the situation.
No, not at all.
With anyone. This is
I'm
all
putting it out on the
tidbits.
table for like the next meeting that Deb is at. That
I
we need
think
to have
it
an
makes-
executive session and discuss this. It involves your contract, it involves finances, it involves personnel. It's not for open meeting. I'm just saying, at an open meeting, we need to discuss this because I don't think you need to be doing that anymore. I don't think you got, as Julie has said probably 100 times in many meetings, you have a lot of stuff on your plate. And this doesn't need to be one of them when the treasurer is great. She's great at what she does, and it doesn't seem, I don't know, or even with the assistant, I don't know how hard it is to generate these, but I
It's
don't
not
see.
difficult, it just takes time, so.
Right, so it just, I don't.
So I think it's a discussion we have to have, but maybe we have to have all of those parties.
Oh, of course,
here at
yes.
the same time.
Yes.
Because I
Well,
think
I think all of
one of
ours-
Deb's concerns is
Deb,
that
Liz, and Al.
the day that it comes due is not a day she's scheduled here. Okay? The day that it has to happen, as far as the payroll, she is not scheduled here, because she has another job.
Right.
We're not talking about payroll. We're
Accounts
talking
payable.
about accounts
Accounts
payable.
payable.
So I thought payroll was coming into this too.
No.
All
Payroll
right,
is
so.
Payroll is
so-
another
still a
mess.
whole nother matter.
It's not clear
It's
enough to
not.
even hand over to somebody
That
yet.
can't go over to anybody right now.
Right. Because that's a mess.
All right, but-
Getting
but-
better.
It's getting better.
Get a better
But
mess.
you were talking about
This.
having people install apps on their phone to log in and log out.
That's just
Just for,
payroll.
that's for payroll to track their hours instead of handwriting a timesheet.
Okay,
Because I'm
well,
still getting handwritten,
so
scratching
the-
timesheets.
That's just to make it easier to input the payroll information for
Yeah.
people that are on hourly. But we're talking about the pay order,
The bills.
the bills. This is what has always been done. Kate always did it, and it just drove us nuts because that's all we would get. We got nothing else. So Lissa tracked it. I mean, I remember Bob Oates. And said
I had a whole separate QuickBooks of
Yes.
everything,
I
and I
totally-
just kept doing it.
But I don't see why that job doesn't need
Is
to be yours anymore.
Would Deb be available to come to the next meeting?
Well,
so
she
we
usually
could-
does. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's summer, people have other things
Yeah, I don't
going
know.
on.
But clearly
her
can't make
other
that
job.
decision without her, obviously, so we need to have her at a meeting.
Could you reach out to Deb and
could ask
see?
Yeah, just has to come to the next meeting, or whatever meeting she
Okay.
can get to. It's
Is
not
that all for that,
pressing.
for now? So we have more to talk about it out there.
It's not pressing, and it's Al and Deb, I would think, because Al's the assistant and might end up being
I
involved.
mean,
Pretty
I'm
available.
here at most of these, but
I understand that.
check with me and make sure.
Right, you have, sometimes you go somewhere. You do.
I thought Bill said, oh, sorry.
No, you're good, you're good.
Stuart's making eye contact, so I thought you wanted me to talk.
No, I'm sorry, you were just waving. Bye.
No, so Bill, I thought you said in your first statement that payroll and accounts payable.
No, no.
You did not?
If I did, I didn't mean it.
Okay, and then listen, quickly said, no, that's a mess in itself, so what's the problem with that?
They're
No, well,
two
so
very
payroll-
different animals.
Payroll, what happened, the mess with payroll is that the company that was doing it for us totally screwed things up. they weren't submitting the workers' comp, that there's a new workers'
No,
comp.
taxes.
The
state
taxes, and this, yeah.
And they did the same thing to
And
my
they did,
business.
and so basically, so we had to switch to another company.
Oh, so-
Apparently, there's only one company to switch to, which I can't believe that, but apparently,
We already have a relationship with that company.
you did,
so-
we had a relationship.
That's the old company you had before this
A
one?
long, yeah, long
I remember,
ago.
yeah.
So they're back, and it seems to mostly be working out.
But you don't want that to ever go to the town treasurer again, because Kate used to do that part as well.
Yeah, no, we
She
weren't
did
talking.
payroll a long
Yes,
time ago,
she did,
yeah.
yes.
That was-
So,
I
I'm
think
just-
it was a
That was a
lot,
long
a
time
lot
ago,
less.
because Nicole did payroll.
For a long time.
Yes, Nicole had taken that over already.
So I just was curious as to how.
Yeah, no, we were talking about the payables,
So
just
you're
as
not
real
ever,
simple.
you're never gonna put the payroll back to treasurer then?
I can't say never.
I don't say,
You don't say never, no.
even at my level, when I had the repair shop, I hired a payroll company. It just, because if you don't file them on time, you don't take out the right
I
amount,
know,
you're
I
up,
know, I
you're
do
up.
that.
No, we
Well,
didn't we
and
have
the
a problem with the
police
state?
department is
I told
totally
her, I know.
different.
You actually had the state coming down on us
Oh, yeah?
because of it, and we had
Yeah,
to.
they don't fool around, you gotta
No.
file reports, even if it's all zeros, I know.
No, it wasn't zeros, we owed them money, and
Well, that's even worse.
the company had the money.
Yeah.
Then we finally got it straightened, listen,
We
got it straightened
So
out.
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I just bring that up, it's not really, like I said, not
All right.
necessarily
This is
for
just
now.
about bills, paying
Yes,
bills.
and this was just a preliminary, even that, I think we need to discuss when Deb is here and probably in executive session.
Okay, all right, so is that all new business? So now we're on the personnel policy update.
So are we required to update the personnel policy? Is that why we're doing it?
So we used to do it once every couple of years. It's been 4, I think. So there's been some changes.
That's a few,
you know,
that's not a couple, it's a
It
few.
has been a few. But basically what I did with this one, because half of the personnel policy is the drug and alcohol testing policy.
Right, so you
for
broke it
CDL,
out.
So I took it out.
Because that's highway crew only. 'cause
Yeah,
they're
it's just
driving.
for employees.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically a standalone personnel policy for like all the
That's for
employees.
commercial motor vehicle operators.
Yeah, and that's federal law. So that one, there is a template from VLCT that I was able to use their guidance on
Right.
to do that. It's-
And this is all for July 1st, so you're just putting it up for the new year.
Yeah,
How many pages is this?
that was 15.
And so has anything in the personnel policy, because I remember I still have it going over it last go round, are there any significant changes?
Not super significant, just like little bits where I've, kind of made it a little bit more clear about when timesheets are due, or what benefits people are entitled to, or how like annual COLA works, or,
Can I-
little clarifying things, but not anything major of substance.
I
And
think-
am I able to print both of these
You can
out?
take that copy if you want. You can-
Because I would like to just look at it and compare before we vote and.
I don't think we should vote on it tonight.
No, I don't either.
I think we have to have time to digest it.
Yeah, I do too.
And if you need any,
'Cause I'll just-
ask any questions, feel free.
And so this was already in this?
Yes. So
Okay.
now will be just a standalone policy that only the highway guys that have CDL, well, they have CDLs, they have to have CDLs, so they would sign that document, but it wouldn't apply to anybody else.
Beth, you got any
Because
access
the
permits?
police department has it.
Yeah, and they are required to have a CDL.
Because they don't
They
drive a
are-
heavy enough vehicle.
Right,
Right, yeah.
and, yeah, it doesn't apply to anybody with
So
fire.
we're gonna address both these policies at the next meeting.
If that works for you.
Yeah, well, now we can look through them. I know Julie likes to spend time on this, so.
Beth, access permit applications.
Yes. So Scott asked that you approve this without the 911, and then he will get out there and take care of it this week. This is for Ernie and Linda Salo, but it's really for Mary and Oliver for a garage they're building that Lucia's already permitted.
Who is it really for?
It's for
garage.
Mary and Oliver, but Ernie and Linda
Are they
Salo
property
own the
owners?
They probably
property.
own the property.
So it's off from the new road that goes out to the solar farm, which is called Pumpkin Mill Way. So Trevor's signed off on it, does not need a culvert.
All right.
And Scott will fill in the 911.
Oh, that-
Yes, you'll give it to me and then I'll file this.
Okay?
Where is Pumpkinville?
It's all,
It's on Black Cherry
It's off of
Ridge.
Black, it doesn't exist.
Okay,
Off in the
Okay.
Kendall Farm, right before Crichton's.
Okay.
Yeah. It
I
does.
can tell you a lot about it.
Yes, Pumpkin Millet, no culvert needed. Motion to approve the access permit requested by Ernest and Linda Sello.
I second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Were you raising your hand or just?
Me?
Yeah. Oh, I
I
thought
saw the same thing.
Well,
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just adjusting my...
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to ignore anyone,
If
but
I'm trying to get your attention, you'll know.
okay. I mean, I'm just trying to be fair to that.
I have one thing as cemetery commissioner, I had to ask for South Road Cemetery to be mowed again as I have a service there tomorrow and it was really looking shaggy from
Well,
Memorial
we've
Day
had pretty
mowing.
bad weather, but
So,
he fit it in.
yes. So, yes, we're all mowed, so there might be an extra little charge for that, but I couldn't have a service with the...
The problem is, well, they couldn't be mowed when they were supposed to be
Yeah.
because of the weather and
Who does the mowing there?
Levi Dryden. So he was great. I just verified with him that it was all good, so I didn't have to drive over there, and it's all
So-
set for tomorrow.
so I went over with the road crew to the Middletown Cemetery back before Memorial Day, and we cut up some trees that had fallen into the cemetery and hauled them out with a four-wheeler to get them out to the road, because you can't put big equipment in there because you tear it all up. And we got that cleared up so that they could work on it before Memorial Day. I went over and two of the guys from the road crew were there and cut, hauled and stuff and got them out and got it cleaned up. I'm trying to fix the gate because
Okay, yeah.
the gate got crushed by one of the trees that fell. I've taken one of the hinges, I just haven't had time to repair it yet, so we might get the gate back up.
Okay, great.
So this is the Middletown Road?
Yes.
Middletown Cemetery, yeah. So
Just because you might not know, y'all might not know, the town owns two cemeteries in town. And the one that everybody knows is not town property. It's privately owned.
The other reason, just so you know, you may not know this, that you can't ever drive in there with any equipment is that there's slaves buried unmarked, like in that flat area as you go in near Brainerd's. Yes, so I'm
There's
passing that on in history.
there's unmarked graves.
Yes.
some of them
I'm
were...
writing that down in big letters.
Some of them were refilled years ago
Yeah.
because they had sunken enough. But these are from probably turn of last century, so it's not like they're
Is
not...
that in both or just
No,
in
just
Middletown?
the Middletown
That we know of.
Cemetery that I'm aware of. I'm still waiting on a price for that stone wall repair in Middletown as well. A second price.
Now, we should probably get a price on what it's gonna cost to trim
Brush back.
the small trees and stuff back so that it can be mowed for the whole thing, because it got out of hand. A tree fell down,
Yeah.
they just mowed around it, and now trees have grown up, so it has...
Are they just little,
It's a lot.
But
It's
there's
a
a
lot
bunch
of
of
little
them.
stuff.
It's just not 4 or 5. I mean,
No.
there's somebody's gonna go in there for the better part of a half a day or a day to cut these down, haul the brush out and get it down low enough so that it can be mowed. Because a tree would fall down and it just got mowed around and then stuff sprouted.
Is it okay if I get a price on both the cemeteries to have it trimmed? Because they both have stone walls. So if we could trim back to the stone walls. in
We get
both of
it
them.
back to a point,
Yeah,
and then
and
we
then
can
we're
have
good.
it mowed, then hopefully we can stay
Yeah.
ahead of it. If something falls down, we gotta deal with it that year
Yes.
because it just got sideways.
and
It's
let me
years.
know too, Thane, and I can get out there if something that
That's a
we
lot.
can handle with the chainsaw.
Yeah, well, Stuart did most of the big stuff because Trevor was great agreeing to it.
Yeah, he agreed to it. He did.
So
not-
thank you
not
for getting that
not willingly,
done.
but-
And many people have commented on the signs, though not only the directional sign in town, but the 2 cemetery signs. So I just wanted to let you guys know that they're appreciated.
Is there any correspondence?
I
Oh,
go.
you got the letter, right?
We have, You have some, oh, that.
No, just.
Okay, so we have the minutes of the last meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Yeah, didn't we make a couple small,
Yes,
we did.
small
Those are
changes?
changed.
Yeah,
Okay,
I, fixed them, sent them out.
You fixed that.
You sent that
Yeah,
to me, so
right.
I
You
Yes,
fixed them.
okay. There were just a word here, a word there.
Yeah,
Nothing major.
that's right.
It just, okay.
Alrighty.
All in favor, say aye.
Alright,
I,
Okay. Is there any other business to come before the select board meeting, other than bills? Ooh, looks like
There's a lot of,
Looks like quite a, I'd say you're working overtime on that.
yes.
yeah, but some of them are manual pay, or those that,
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of manual pays, but I already paid those.
that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
but we still have to look.
You
Yeah,
still
which
have
is
to
kinda
look at
funny
them and
though,
just
the old-
approve, yeah.
Anthony Stewart.
Yes.
If you guys would like a very brief update, like 2 minutes or less, on what's going on with education.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because that's actually going to have a big impact on school budgets.
Oh, now,
Yeah.
I think last night was a big meeting at Floodbrook.
Yes.
Did anybody go to that?
No.
Okay, because
I'm sure someone went there, I did not.
because I read that they were thinking of going forward because they didn't have much local opposition to the plan.
Yeah.
And I guess they found out they had a lot more opposition than what they thought.
There are a couple issues right now. The House has passed their version of the bill, and the Senate attempted to craft their own version of the bill, and that's the bill that fell flat on its face.
Right.
They did not end up passing it. The Senate ended up taking up the House version and trying to make their own amendments to it. That, most of those efforts have completely stalled. There's no consensus on anything at the moment. And the governor has made a public statement saying that he would veto the bill in its current form and likely veto any
Randy,
version of
if
it.
you need a cooler, let me know.
Okay.
Chris Merrow wrote to us to
Okay,
give us
I'm
the
sorry.
legislative update.
It's very unlikely right now that we're going to know anything concrete before the
That's
Senate
it.
Legislative Committee
Same.
presents
Supposedly, they're going back into session on the 16th or 17th of this month.
They want to get, the governor actually pushed the timeline up. He said it wasn't aggressive enough. The consensus in the education community from the administrators and the teachers and, you know, those of us that, the board chairs that meet every week, is that the timeline is way too aggressive because they don't really have any, the foundation isn't laid yet to talk about stuff like, you know, they want to create 4,000 kid districts. That's a huge undertaking. They're not really ready to do that. So there's a lot of uncertainty. But what is fairly certain is that if some version of this bill is passed and signed into law, one thing that will happen, regardless of what the details are, is that local control of school budgets is going to go away. So the state is going to decide how much money is appropriate to spend per pupil.
That's nice.
They're going to pick a number, right? So right now the number that's being thrown around is like $15,133 per pupil, which is about $5,000 lower than I think the average across the state. It's over $20,000 across the state. That number, they're just going to basically, there's some pupil weights that they apply to that. So you get more money if your English is a second language, you get more money if you have certain disabilities, more money if you're low income. But that money is set, that number is set ahead of time. And so right now, what a lot of the discussion around budgets and tax rates is, if the state is setting that value, then local school boards are not deciding how much to spend. They're being told, this is how much you're going to get per kid, and you need to build your budget around that number. And what's happening is that there are a lot of districts that are currently, if you take the model they're using, it's called the foundation formula, and you apply it to the districts as they exist now, there are a lot of overspending districts, so districts that are like, holy crap, and under the new model we get $20 million less, or $5 million less, or $2 million less, they're getting less money. So those districts are upset because they're looking at significant cuts and they don't know where they're going to go. We have the
They're
opposite
gonna have to
problem.
close their pools and shut down their lights on their
Well,
ball.
yeah, or really what the target of the legislation is to close schools.
Yeah.
I mean, they won't say that because it's an unpopular thing to say, no one wants to be the one to say it, but the goal is to close small schools and create larger schools that are more efficient, and then therefore you find some savings. The practicability of that is what's being debated. But the other thing that happens on the other side of that coin is that small districts that chronically underspend, so I'm talking about districts that really aggressively keep their tax rate low because of the income level in their community, because their voters and taxpayers expect and require a lower tax rate, so they underspend all the time, they're looking at massive increases in their tax rates. And it's outside of their control. They're being told by the state, you must spend this much.
Well, like with us, when we're spending $11 million that we send to the state, we have no control over.
You're somewhere in the middle on that thing.
Okay.
So it's not going to solve that. I don't think any of the legislation, especially the foundation form in its current form, is going to do away with that. The state is still going to set the tax rate globally, across the whole state, and everyone's going to pay a certain amount into a big pot, and then that big pot's going to go to all the different.
So,
But the way they decide how much that pot is going to be is what they're talking about doing now. Which, to be honest with you, I think the foundation formulated principle is a big improvement from what we have right now. Because right now it's a catch-22 where the state doesn't know how much money they need to collect until the districts report what their budgets are, and the voters don't know what their tax rates are going to be when they vote on their budgets because the state doesn't have that information yet. They haven't figured out how much money they need to collect.
well, I mean, and we're told after the fact of how much we send to the state. We don't know
Correct.
until they said, here's the bill, pay it.
Yeah, and that's still basically going to be the case, but the difference will be when you vote on town meeting day for a school budget and it says the tax rate's going to be $1.67, the tax rate's going to be $1.67. Instead of the way it works now, where it's really just an estimated tax rate, and then the CLA comes in, and then all these other variables come in, and then the state realizes they have to collect more money than they thought, and suddenly that means everyone's tax rate's going up across the state.
So-
There should be less variance.
So,
Want me to make it up?
I heard one thing, which kind of, I mean, I haven't been following it real close because I got lots of other problems going, but, Bill, you haven't seen this one yet.
This is the last piece.
That was, that the Floodbrook situation, they were talking about closing Floodbrook and busing kids to Dorset.
Yes, that's a separate issue from, so in parallel to what's going on at the state level, the
it's not-
BRSU, the supervisory union, is talking about opening a middle school. We don't currently have a public middle school. So one of the things they're in the process, they're in the community outreach portion of that discussion. Like, do we think this is a good idea? And closing Floodbrook is one of the proposals for opening that middle school. And that's happening in a
You
completely
would,
parallel
you would think that every kid to
That's
middle
not what
school
we
drives to
decided.
school because the parking lot is always full. I mean, I don't know how many teachers, but they must have 60 cars in the parking lot.
No matter what they end up doing, and so one of the reasons why that conversation's happening is because the state may force it anyway. Like, they may force school closures with this legislative update that they're working on.
Right.
And I think the supervisory union wanted to be out ahead of it. It's also, it would be theoretically a cost savings to consolidate. We have a lot of consolidation.
It's a shame to put a kid on a school bus and make him ride an hour, either both
They're
ways.
doing it in Jamaica
The
already.
state doesn't seem to have a problem with busing kids to Rutland or Bennington.
No, because it's not their kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they're supposedly, I don't know if it's happening yet, they're talking Jamaica kids being bused all the way to
No, that's been
to
happening.
Newfane.
That's been happening for a long time, to Newbrook.
And to be
Yeah.
honest with you, those sort of like
Newbrook or when we...
nuanced conversations about like the
Birdsboro.
reality of on the ground, like what's this gonna look like in our community. We are a billion light years away from having those kinds of meaningful discussions. In order to have that kind of discussion, you need a framework. Like, you need to know what the rules are. Like, it would be real their budget supposed to look like? Which is why I personally think the foundation formula is a good place to start. Because it's informative. It tells you how much money you should be spending. So if you're like way over or way under, then okay, let's put that under a microscope. Like, why are you way over? Why is this district $20 million over budget and this district $10 million under budget when they have lots of things in common, very similar? You can't make that comparison until you have two things to compare.
Okay.
We haven't gotten to that point.
Just that's Jeff.
Yeah, it's actually a question for Dean. Did they talk implementation? I understand that there's a lot to sort out.
Yeah,
Was
so
there a timetable?
there's no consensus on implementation. The Senate, the House bill, I believe, don't quote me on this because there's been a lot of dates running around, I believe that the House bill was 2029, and then the governor said, no, it's got to be by 2027.
I'm sorry.
There does seem to be some consensus towards implementing the foundation formula first. There's really two pieces. You have funding and governance. Governance is the school districts, what they look like, how they're organized, what schools kids go to. That's like the on-the-ground administrative stuff. The funding is how does the state collect money? How does your tax rate get determined? That sort of thing. So there's some consensus, so I wouldn't say total consensus, on implementing the foundation formula, the funding part first, getting that in place by 2027 or 2029, and then there's going to be a committee that's going to discuss governance, and then working the governance part out later. The problem is, any of the savings that you're looking for when you're trying to realize this sweeping funding change, they want it to cost less, not more. Or at the very least, they want it to be flat. In order to accomplish that, you need the governance changes, right? You need the consolidation here, right? Assuming for a moment we stipulate that consolidating schools saves money, which that may not actually be true in a lot of places, but let's just say for the sake of argument that it is true generally. Without the consolidation, they don't have the savings, and so therefore when they do their funding and say this is how much money we need, it's okay, well it's more money than we're spending now, so we didn't actually solve the problem. So those two things have to happen together.
So what's going to happen to all these private schools?
We don't know.
Because I've heard some talk that they're not going to pay for tuition at some of the private schools. Because right now, we're paying at Berger,
The Senate
which is a
bill was
private
introduced
school.
by Seth Bongartz, who used to be on the board
Yeah,
at
I know
PBA.
Seth.
That bill was very, I don't want to say very friendly, but it was much more friendly to independent schools and the tuitioning model that we have here in Winhall than the House bill was. That bill didn't end up going anywhere. The House bill, one thing there seems to be some consensus, not total consensus on, is it looks like they're probably going to have some version of, if there is some version of tuitioning still allowed, so if there is public dollars going to private schools like what we do right now, it will not be able to go to out-of-state schools, and it may not be able to go, there may be criteria for who can be eligible.
Okay, can you hold just a second? You guys have read the bills?
Yep.
Can I get a motion?
A motion to pay.
Okay, motion made, the second pay the bills, any other discussion? Thank you, I'm sorry.
No.
I just
I'm
trying
interrupting
to...
you, so.
Well, no, I appreciate your input because this is a huge issue because a lot of people don't understand in this town that the local budget is staying relatively flat. Inflation, cost of insurance, cost of trucks, cost of fuel, cost of employees goes up, and as it always will, to keep qualified employees. But when we have to send $11 to $12 million a year to the state, that blows the hell out of our budget.
Right.
And that is not something we have any control over. We can't say, no, we're going to send you $9 million. We can't do it. We have to send almost $11 million last year?
Yeah.
Well, and now,
Yeah.
I think it was close.
What's that?
I think it was closer to 12.
it was, yeah, we budgeted 12,644,900. The actual payment we've paid is 14.5 million. It's over budget.
Right, so that's the
Okay.
that's a consequence.
So that we have no control over. And what bothers me is that figure doesn't show up in the town report. It doesn't really show that figure, so it makes everybody look at the tax rate and say, what the hell, my taxes went up.
So the figure being hidden, that problem should be largely solved by the foundation formula. There should be much more clarity about how much money is going up to the state and how much money we're actually
And
spending.
how very little comes back from the state.
That part should be clear, but as far as the, like, maintaining, like, this bill and all of the versions of this bill do exactly the opposite when it comes to maintaining local control over budgets.
Is that for Al?
Up to this point, the
Yes.
state has basically delegated the
Al,
responsibility
you want this?
of deciding how much to spend to the towns, right? So the state says, we're responsible for educating kids in Vermont, but you, the individual school districts, you're gonna decide how much money you think it's appropriate to spend per pupil, and then we're gonna raise that money and as the state, and then we're gonna redistribute it. What's changing fundamentally is that the state is saying, we're taking that responsibility back. We're responsible for educating kids in Vermont. We're going to decide how much money is appropriate to spend. We're going to tell you that you're going to spend $15,000 per kid, and then you're going to
Implement it.
look at how many kids you have, apply your pupil weights, you're going to get a number, that's your number. The advantage to that is that there's clarity in all the school districts about how much money they're going to be expected to spend. The other thing that I sort of glossed over, I kind of buried the lead, is like Winhall School District's not going to exist anymore. Like we're not going to have a local town district. We're going, if this goes through, if they actually like can pass something and it doesn't just fall apart completely, there will be a mega district that we are a part of. The numbers they're talking about are 4,000 to 8,000 kids. I think 8,000 is absurd. But, you know, let's say 4,000. I mean, right now...
Manchester has less than 5,000 citizens in it.
Correct. Yeah, so-
And so you're gonna have one half again as big as Manchester.
The original district they proposed was like us, Bennington proper, and Rutland proper as one district. That was the governor's proposal, which it's immediately apparent to everyone, like the practicability of that is questionable. But like just to give context, like the BRSU right now, I believe, is around 2,000 students, somewhere in that ballpark.
The whole Bennington Rutland
Supervisory
supervisor.
Union. And
So-
they seem to think that that's small in terms of district size.
Well, the problem is, we're below Rutland. So Rutland is where the state starts. Everything down here doesn't matter.
South of 4.
I mean, we have the same problem when we got redistricted by the number of voters, and we wanted to stay with Stratton and Jamaica and towns around that were connected at the same concerns as others. Well, now I think Andover, and who else is in?
Andover is the furthest and most remote.
And then is Weston? Is Weston one of ours?
I don't think so, and we lost Stratton,
We lost Stratton.
which was pretty much paired with us.
Well, it should be, because we have the same common concerns.
It's
But
possible that we get lumped in with the Senate proposal, the one that clearly had a place for independent schools and tuitioning model, what's our model, in it, lumped us in with Stratton, Arlington, Sandgate, and Ira, which are all non-operating.
Ira, oh boy, there you go. We should bust kids to
Also
Ira.
non-operating districts.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really have much in common with those districts. We actually explored a lot of those possible mergers during the Act 46 stuff. I mean, we sent representatives to Arlington, we sat in meetings with them.
Well,
a lot of work with
at
Stratton.
one time they tried to pair us up with Sandgate.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, oh yeah, well, you're like Sandgate. What the hell? Most people don't even know how to get Sandgate.
It's because we touch
Kelly
it.
Stan Road. don't you?
We touch it.
Yeah, we have a
One little corner, we touch
Oh,
it.
I guess that's right. I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah.
just that we,
I
it's just
couldn't
that
find
we're all
that intersection.
tuition.
Kelly Stan Road's the quickest way to get
That's the
there.
only thing we really have in common, is that we have the same model. We all tuition, we don't operate schools. But we don't send our kids to the same schools, right? And so where it gets complicated is they're going to need to, if independent schools are going to continue to get funding through a tuitioning model, if that stays, it wouldn't be called tuitioning, it'd be called something else, but let's, for the sake of argument, let's not confuse things. If the way we operate doesn't change, they're probably going to start looking at criteria for independent schools that they have to meet in order to qualify for that public money. Stuff like minimum school size, minimum class size, they have to provide certain services, they have to report report in a certain way, which obviously is a constraint on the independence of the schools because they have to conform to what the public schools do. So that's really where I would say that the public independent school debate is like a subset of this overall education debate.
Which is all in conjecture still.
Which is all completely in chaos right now. There's
all
no
conjecture.
consensus.
We did get a note from Chris Morrow. I don't know if you saw it. It came this afternoon. He said that they will be reconvening specifically for this
16th and
purpose.
17th, that's why I said it, because I read that.
Hey,
I remember I said it just a few minutes ago.
they're good about that.
Okay, well,
before
thank
we
you.
adjourn, July
Dean,
7th.
I think I gave you more than 2 minutes, but I do appreciate you, because you have analyzed it further than we have information about.
2, we'll save some
What
room.
did I
once a
have?
week.
Oh, now we're closed
To keep up
early,
with
we
you.
always miss out.
Where?
Yeah, we'll just close early.
Okay.
Go at the garage?
For the
July
lunch?
7th, cookout.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
I know, well,
Stuart, we'll mail you some.
Yeah.
We could put some in the freezer for you.
What did you say, 11 to 2?
11 to 1.
11 a.m.
All right, is
Yeah,
there any
food runs out.
anything else to come before the meeting? Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.